Good morning, everyone. We are at bike race ski this morning. It's actually like barely morning, just about 11:30. But yeah, I'm loving bike race ski lately. I haven't done a class in a few weeks though, so I'm actually dying to get in. It's a good old sweat. It's actually a heated class, which is very interesting, very sweaty. And you get the little polar thing on your arm. Oh God, sorry. I go to the one in Concealy. Great old time. Loads of lovely people here. I think actually one of the instructors watches the vlog, so hello. But anyway, sorry, I'm so flustered this morning. I'm like smashing around my car. Anyway, we're gonna go work out. I've actually got 4 minutes to my class, so I better fucking get a move on. And I'll talk to you all later after.
75, 70, 85. It's 2 minute clock.
Oh, look at this. Look what I came home to. Look at those flowers with glitter on them. How pretty. Evan is a star. He actually gets me flowers quite often.
Find yourself a man who does this.
I actually have this really nice vase from Zara Home. I never have, well, like, not that I never have flowers for it, but I don't really buy myself flowers anymore. I used to like buy flowers, but I just kind of got over it. And I found that it took away when I got bought flowers. Like when I got bought flowers, it's like, oh. But now I'm like, oh, beautiful flowers. I'm just gonna go for it. I don't rearrange them at all. Okay, we need a little bit more water. And here's how you make an ugly table in your rented apartment look a bit nicer. Very pretty. Hiya. She ate a pair of my underwear this morning, so I invited her and she knows it. So I asked for some questions on my Instagram because this is like the last vlog I'll be putting up as a 31-year-old. What a, iconic age. But I just thought that like it could be an interesting one to, on birthdays you always look back on and reflect, especially I think if any of you guys are also in your 30s, as you chip away into those years, you do end up kind of being like, wow, I'm in my 30s. Like I'm always like, whoa, it's like so adult. By the way, these nails, they're still on. I don't know how they're ever gonna come off. Back in my day, if we're gonna talk about how things have changed, back in my day, glue-on nails were like, they popped off fucking so easy. Now I'm like, I feel like I've got a full set of acrylics on. I wish they weren't black, but maybe I'm kind of into it. Oh, anyway, so I asked for questions and I'm gonna do my makeup while answering a few. I'm gonna pick I'm just gonna go through maybe the first like 5 or 6 and just answer them. I haven't actually even looked at them yet, so let's see what they say and we'll fly through them. Okay, question number 1. Do you think you need to have a good group of girlfriends or is one friend enough? I think it just depends on whatever you want. I think that like a lot of, especially in Ireland anyway, I think it's a big thing to be like, have your girls and your girls and your girls night out and the blah blah blah. And like, look, I obviously have fucking female friends. I worked in a company for a long ass time where it was only women and it was great. And I made a lot of friends from that. I have obviously friends from school, college, all the rest. Why am I trying to prove something to someone I don't know? But like, I have never really been part of like a girl group. Obviously in school I had friends that were girls, but my school was mixed, so it was always kind of mixed. Like all of my friendships have always been quite mixed. I've always had like kind of equally the same amount of male friends as I do have girlfriends. And I think that like this looks really orange, guys. I understand, but trust me, it does blend out, okay? Like Charlotte Tilbury, why is this a 4 and that's a 5? That makes no damn sense to me, but it does blend out. So like I think like you do whatever you're comfortable with. I think like it doesn't matter like the number of fucking friends you have. Like maybe you had like a load of shitty friends before. I think the number of friends someone has is so irrelevant, because I've known people, oh, my Discord's popping off because a new episode went up today. I've known people in my life who have had a load of acquaintances but like not many close friends, and I've known people who have not even just that many friends in general and they're lovely. So like I think, you know, it's very judgmental to look at someone on like, you know, and quantify their character on the amount of friends they seem to have. I have loads of friends who like don't live in the same country as me, or aren't really on social media, or I actually just don't unfortunately see that often, but we talk all the time. Because that's what happens when you get older. Like you do realize that like when you get older, you're just not really like, you're not like hanging out as you used to. Like when I was younger, oh guys, this colour, it looks more orange on camera than it is in real life, I swear to God. When I was younger, I had all the time in the world to be hanging out, and so did my friends. But now it's like, especially I'm freelance, obviously I work for myself, but I don't, like a lot of my friends don't. A lot of my friends work in fucking corporate jobs, so like, you know, they can't be bopping around town in the middle of the day. They're like fucking working. So I don't think that there's no like number of friends that you should have, and there's no type of friends or group of friends that you should have. And I think you're kind of lousy if you judge people on that. Just like if you're judging people on the amount of relationships they've had, or judging people on the amount of people they've had sex with. Like, what does it matter to you? And a lot of the time, just like lads or dating or whatever, you have to go through some shit friends to find out who your real friends are, or just shit times in your life, you know, like that is a real thing. So I think don't put pressure on yourself, and if anyone is like looking at you weird because, I don't know, maybe you have the biggest group of friends in the world, or maybe you have a really small group of friends, tell them to sit and spin and like take their insecurities out somewhere else, to be honest. Second question, do you really just know when you know? I adore my boyfriend, but I just don't get this. How are you sure? I mean, I like, when I met Evan, I did feel like it was a different feeling than other relationships I'd been in. I don't know what it was. There was something kind of like that I couldn't put my finger on. But saying that, I know a lot of people who are super quick to jump into relationships, or I also know a lot of people who would be a little bit more wary, and I think that like it just depends on your personality. Like, again, it is kind of just a trope that we're told about in oh my god, I just had like, not a meltdown, that's completely overblown. I don't know if anyone's asked me this question in my question box, but I'm going to ask myself it. The question, like, if there's one thing I could change in myself, it would be, I am so careless, like, with my possessions. I lose stuff. I know I've mentioned it here all the time, and I just feel like it, like, doesn't even make sense. Like, I feel like in every, like, I mean, I'm good at being self-motivated. I can, like, keep my stuff nice. Like, all these things, like, my life is pretty together. I cannot keep things. Like, I bought, it doesn't matter to go into it, but I just spent like genuinely an hour finding something, and while looking for these things I found it's basically, I was trying to find my Refi, I always say Refi, my Refi brow stuff. Looking for this one, the new one I bought, I found the old one that I thought I lost, and it's just, I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad. And it's the one thing, like, truly, if I could buy that, I would pay so much money to be better with my possessions. I'm so bad. And I try. I really do try. Like, really, 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 I do try and keep, like, a hold on things and put things in the same place. And I've probably got a bit better, but, like, I swear to God, it's almost every day. I can't remember what the hell I was saying at the start, but basically I think that, like, for me, the rule of thumb that I've used is that, like, if I am in a relationship, I want to be able to like see a future, envision a future, and for that future that I'm seeing to be realistic. And that's enough knowing for me, you know, like, because you never know. You literally don't know anything. No one knows the future. The future is for you to make. And you know, I don't believe in soulmates or anything like that. I don't think there's one person out, like, come on, you know, like what, my one person out of 7 billion just happened to be from Bayside. But I do believe that, like, in soulmates, if you're going to think about it in a way of like, we can build a partnership and a life together, and we have like sexual and romantic and personal connection. So for me, it's just like, those different elements will always ebb and flow in a relationship. However, you know, I think for me anyway, I can only speak on my own experience and what I look for. And I think that's something that you have to keep asking yourself is like, when people think you know, as in like, can you envision a future with them, for example? But like, is that future, are both of you building for that future? And is that future realistic? And do you just want the future, or do you want the future with that person? Because like, that's the real one. Literally not one person can be like, I know I'm going to be with him for the rest of my life. And the amount of fucking people that I've known throughout the years who've met some guy and been like, this is it, like, how crazy, I met him, and then like 3 months later they're fucking killing each other and breaking up or cheating or whatever the fuck, or just not into it anymore. So, but I think that the most important thing is when you're in it, the more, if more time is built questioning whether you should be in a relationship with this person versus being happy, then you might have to ask yourself some other questions, and, you know, just make sure that the relationship is the relationship you want to be in, and not that you just want to be in a relationship and this guy happens to be there. You know what I'm saying? Next question is, do you still get hit with society age pressure? Example, should having a baby at a certain age? So I think, although there are, with babies, for example, because you asked for that specifically, with babies it's kind of a funny one, because it's not just societal, really. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, there is like an age where not only would it makes, like, is it easier for you to conceive, but there's also an age where like you want to have a baby. Like, I mean, like, I always think that, like, I think I'm down for anyone having a baby once it's healthy for them at any age that they can possibly do it. I don't judge in that way. However, like, for me, it's just like, do I want to be 50 jumping around after a 10-year-old? Not really, you know what I mean? So but there are some societal things that, like, I wouldn't punish yourself for like giving into them, being like, oh, I feel like I'm giving into like the societal pressure of wanting a baby when I'm 30. Like, that's usually the age, from my experience of turning 30, that a lot of women kind of realize they might want a baby, or that they feel a bit of pressure, because we do find it harder to conceive after the age of 35. Now, of course, there's loads of other societal pressures out there, and like, some people feel like they have to have a baby just to have a baby, and that's like not good I don't think you should get anything just because you think that like the world expects you to have it. But especially in Ireland, there can also be a lot of pressure to like own a house, a lot of pressure to be in a relationship, a lot of pressure. There's always going to be societal pressures. I just think that you have to try and figure out what you want, and also realize that it's not a bad thing if you change your mind, you know. I think everyone when they're younger thinks they don't want kids, and a lot of people do change their mind as they get older, or it can be fucking opposite. And I think that like, it's literally your life, and I think there's nothing worse than someone who you know, obviously it can depend on their circumstances, but like someone who has a baby just because like they think that like people would judge them if not. Like, it's a very old school mentality, and I feel like it can also have probably led to a lot of people having like kind of absent parents, or parents that like weren't fully invested in parenting. Because like, fair enough, you want the baby, but do you want to be a parent for 30 years? Because I still turned up at my mom and dad's door this summer when my life was turning fucking to shit, you know, that way. So like, you're never truly rid of them. But I think everyone does. I think everyone kind of can get under that, put those pressures on themselves. And like, I'm seeing people I know now, like, you know, buying houses, and even like Evan and I are still engaged and we don't have like a wedding set or anything like that, just for because of the world right now is quite hard to do so, and we don't really know what we want yet. But I get that pressure too, because people come up to you being like, when's the date, when's the date, when's the date? And every single event we ever go to, people are like genuinely asking, and it can be a lot of pressure. But I think that you have to be able to kind of like just look at it objectively and take a step back and kind of be like, okay, I'm fine. Next question is, did many of your friendships change from the age of 21? 21? I don't think so. In 21, when I was 21, I was still in college. So like, I think that my relationships would have been pretty steady, if I'm honest, around that age. However, my friendships in general do change as you get older. And especially when you're kind of like 28, 29, 30, I think that your friendships start to change, in the sense, I kind of spoke on it earlier, but like, I think it's because you just don't have as much time, or you're on different time schedules as your friends. Sometimes people do like master's degrees and they're still in college. Some people do start to work. Some people move away after college, all of that kind of stuff. So that really does change your friendships. And change doesn't always mean like negative, that way. It doesn't mean that you don't have friends anymore, but it does mean that you both need to put in more effort. And you kind of also get a bit of a different like perspective and understanding when you're a little bit older, because everyone's busier. Everyone, like, especially when people start to have kids or start to get into like serious relationships where they're living together, like, you just don't have the same lifestyle. And I think you can grow, the people that I remain friends with anyway, and have kept friends with since like 25, 26, like, it's just that we've grown more tolerant of each other. I think when you're younger, you can be a bit like, you kind of want your life to stay the same, and you can judge friends, especially if they get into like maybe relationships, and you don't want, like, you kind of want to be out in the club scene and they don't want to, and it can be a bit like annoying when you're younger. However, I think when you're older, you get a bit of a different perspective where you're like, okay, fair, like, maybe you don't want to be in a club, so let's go for dinner instead. So that does change, but like, I think you also become more forgiving as you get older, and you also have like a different kind of perception of time. Like, when you're younger, you might be like, oh my god, I haven't seen you in like 2 months. If I see some of my friends every 2 months, I'm like doing well, you know what I mean? So I think you become more forgiving, and the friends that aren't forgiving maybe just aren't going to be in your life that long, because I think like you have to have like tolerance, and you have to be able to be understanding of different people's lifestyles, careers, relationships, like if they have children, all of those kind of things. So I think that comes into play as you're older, and the people who are tolerant and understanding stay in your life. Next question is, how do you manage to keep up with friends you don't see every day? On that topic, or live abroad, etc. So this is something that like I began, I guess, practicing because I personally moved abroad. I obviously lived in New York. Some people have asked me like to do like a video talking about that, and like, I guess I'll maybe think of some like story times or something like that, because I don't really want to do it in a boring way. Anyway, but my point being is that like, when I moved away, that gave me a different perspective. I was like, oh, it's really hard to like keep in touch with people and like live in a different time zone, and even keeping like things in common, because like you're kind of removed from like maybe your friend group at home, or what's going on at home, or they don't really know what's going on in your life. You're referencing things and they're like, what the fuck? And also there can be a lot of pressure on people to like, when you're moving away and when your friend has moved away, to like visit each other, and it's just not always possible. And I think how I've balanced it from moving away to moving back, and I've kept like literally all my good friends from when I lived in New York. When I went over to New York, I was like, I really don't want to be, and like, no shade, anyone who does this, just wasn't for me. There was a lot of people in my college that moved over at the same time on the same visa, and like, I was just like, I just don't want to move to New York and hang out with a load of Irish people the whole time. I can see the appeal of like obviously meeting people who are from like the same country as you and share the same cultures and interests, and like, but I was just like, oh, I just couldn't be arsed. So I just made it my thing to try and link up with people that I knew online over there. I had met Devin, who's my like one of my best friends ever. I met him before. We weren't close. I just met him once before I moved over there, so I made sure to meet up with him. He's a New Yorker, born and bred. And I just made sure to like make friends over there that I was like, I want to make new friends, you know, and I did. And to keep in touch with them, we've just always, kind of what I was saying before, we've always like mutually practiced like a lot of like tolerance and understanding, and not forgiveness sounds like we're doing something bad, but like, you know, if you don't get to talk to someone in like sometimes like say with Taya or something, she's not a big texter, so like sometimes we won't speak for like genuinely 6 months, but like I'm still like, you know, and then like sometimes she'll come in and be like, hi, blah, blah, and we're like talking nonstop for a month, and then, you know, it can just happen, especially because she lives in LA, you know, it's like we're like 9 hours, she's 9 hours behind, we're literally in no way on the same time zone, but when she's in Italy, we're talking all the time, she's on the same time, you know, so it's just about those little understandings. So once you don't see every day, I think that can be a bit of a, I don't mean to sound patronising or anything, but it just gives me the vibe that maybe you're a little bit younger than I am, or maybe in your mid to early 20s. And look, you have to realise when you are younger, you are seeing your friends every day, and it's fucking great, and wouldn't we all love that? But when you're older, I think it just becomes a mutual understanding thing, because you're like, okay, how are we going to see each other every day when like I work in fucking Clondalkin and you're like had to move to Galway for work, you know what I mean? So life just gets in the way, but it's okay, and don't judge your friends for that, like, and don't put too much pressure on a friendship. Like, texting is an amazing thing, and we can, you know, I've kept in contact with friends for like, I was living in New York almost 10 years ago now. That makes me feel old, and we're still as close. So what's the thing you most love about your 30s over your 20s? Great question. So my 20s were, and I don't know about everyone, but I think for a lot of people your 20s are very much an age for kind of like discovering yourself, your individuality, obviously what you maybe want to do in life, but like obviously also no pressure to figure that out by the time. Like, I mean, I literally only started doing this job full time when I was like close to 29, so you know what I mean. And I tell a lot of people that because they don't realize it. And well, anyway, so your 20s are fun in that way, because it's like you kind of feel like the world is your oyster. You're starting to get a little bit more financial independence. You might move out for the first time or move abroad, etc., etc. But for my 30s, I think after doing that for a decade, I was really looking forward to just kind of like feeling a little bit more relaxed. And I remember I actually mentioned this a lot, and I probably mentioned it on a podcast here or there, but it's worth mentioning again. I remember when I worked, was when I worked in Benefit, and my good friend Kim, she is a few years older than I am, and I think I was turning 26 or something, and I did that really annoying thing that 25, 6-year-olds do to 30-year-olds, and I was like, I feel so old. And she was like, she's from Derry. She was like, you're not fucking old. But anyway, she told me something that always stuck with me. Because I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to be 30 in a few years, whatever. And she was like, honestly, babes, like, she was like, I had the exact same thing. Everyone has it. But she said, the minute I fucking turned 30, my life just like relaxed, and I just felt so at ease with everything. I didn't feel like any more like pressures, or you know, obviously you get like the odd pressure here or there, but she was like, I just the same pressures that I had on myself in my 20s were just not there anymore. And I think that's because it's a sign of your 20s well spent, and B, it's a sign of just like knowing yourself, and that's from your 20s being well spent. Like, get to know yourself in your 20s, like make mistakes, have a huge, you know, serious relationship breakup, if you know, but obviously it can happen at any age, but you know, these things really help you find yourself. When I was doing half the shit I was doing that now I can see as like real cornerstones of like that kind of forged who I am as a woman, at the time I just thought I was having fun, you know. I wasn't like, wow, this is so important, but you know, in your 30s the best thing is I do feel if you spend your 20s well, and there's no right or wrong way to spend them, okay, but if you can be introspective and self-reflective and honest with yourself, you will know yourself in your 30s. You know who you are, you know what you want in life, for the most part, and you also just don't have certain, what would the word be? You don't have the same expectations on yourself to do everything in your 30s that you maybe did in your 20s. Like, when I was in my 20s, I always felt pressured to be like, you know, to look like everyone else, to keep up with people who, after graduating college specifically, keeping up with people that I graduated with because they were like starting corporate jobs, or maybe I was still doing internships, and that would stress me out. And I was definitely more so comparing myself to other people around me. I just don't do that anymore. I never thought I was never too bad at it, but I think it's natural for it to like sneak in. I think that's how a lot of people kind of gauge what's like normal by comparing themselves to their peers or people that they would like to emulate. That they're the main things. I think that, the number one thing that I would prefer from my 30s over my 20s is just having an absolute secure sense of self. Of course, that always ebbs and flows like anything else in the world. I'm not saying that like that, you know, life is easier in your 30s. It comes with its own struggles, its own pressures, its own expectations, but I find them to be a little more palatable and a little more controllable than the pressures I felt when I was in my 20s, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm actually going to show you the lip I did. I just put some lip liner on there because I got a new gloss bomb by Fenty. I've never tried their clear one before. So let's see. It's obviously a clear lip gloss, but I want to see how shiny it is. I love clear lip gloss. Out of Book of Mormon, and the Mormons are behind us.
What do you think of the show?
It's brilliant. Do you like it? I kind of respect the Mormons for taking advantage of an advertising. Oh no, it's brilliant.
Let's go see it.
Yeah, if you have a chance to go see Book of Mormon, it's actually fucking so funny. If you don't know, it's written by Trey Parker and the other writers from South Park. So same, very dirty humour. There was definitely a few people there who I think didn't know it was written by them, and they were like, "Oh!" You know, be aware. But anyway, really nice. Go see it. Oh my god, it's so windy out today. What the fuck? So I'm in town. I have to go to therapy in like 10 minutes, and then I'm just going to kind of float around town for about an hour, and I'm popping into my friend Christina, who she always does my brows, but she also does my LVL, and like, I don't know what it is, like, I wish my hair was like this, but my eyebrows and my lashes are like super coarse. Like, it's so, they take a lot to like laminate my brows, and the LVL, like, she just uses like a pretty standard LVL product, obviously at the moment, that everyone else uses, but it never like fully curls my lashes just because they're so stubborn. But she got a new product in and she wants to test it on me now. About 6 months ago, probably more actually, she got a new lamination product in for brows, and that worked so well on my brows. So then she like was like, okay, I'm going to use this on everyone else now. So we're going to try that with the LVL today and see if it like curls my lashes a bit more than usual. Now, don't get me wrong, they do get a curl obviously, but it's just not as like some people's lashes, she said, just take to it so well, and they're like, and I have really long lashes, like, so I would love that, because my lashes, although they are coarse, they are straight as a fucking ruler, like, truly. So kind of out of breath because I'm trying to leg it to therapy, but I'll talk to you after. So I'm out of therapy. I think next week I'm going to do my like a kind of closing session with him. I have to say, it kind of triggered me when he said it. He was like, oh, I feel like you've, you know, come a long way, and you've kind of like worked through a lot of like what you were here to work through, etc., etc. And he was like, you know, if there's anything else that you want to bring into the room, so to speak, we can, but if not, like maybe we'll do a closing session next week. And I was like, because I'm like, oh my god, have I also grown reliant on you? But I think it's good, and obviously I can always go back if I need to, and he said that to me as well. But I think it's nice. It's a nice feeling to know everything's so wet and I want to sit down. It's a nice feeling to kind of be like, okay, I've like worked through shit, and a professional has kind of given me the all clear to set my sorry ass out in public. But I'm kind of wandering around town now before I go into Christina, and I'm so hungry, and I saw that the ramen bar opened at 11:30, but I was like, I just don't know if I can go to the ramen bar at 11:30 and order a bowl of fucking ramen, but I really, really want to. It is so much better. Whoa, that one's crazy. So I'm about to do something which I don't do that often at all, but it's late night podcasting, and that's because I got a very special motherfucking guest. Well, Evan. Evan's coming on the podcast to do part 2. This week I'm doing like UFO week on the pod, which is something I might do again because it's just so much on UFOs that like you can't even cover it in one episode, like as if. So I do 2 episodes this week. One I did on my own. I was going to do the second one on my own, and then I was like, actually Evan's so into UFO shit, like he's watched so many of the documentaries, more than I have. And it'd be good crack just to have a guest on to switch up the vibe a bit. So I'll show you the setup. This is my portable podcast charger, or not charger at all, podcast like recorder. It's Zoom, and that's what I use to do any of the kind of guests if I have to go to their house. 2 mics, my notes and all are in here. Okay, I'll save them. And we are ready to go. Well, once my beautiful co-host decides to join me. Hey guys, so I'm just editing this video, and I think I have enough for 2 videos on this. So this is going to be the end of today's vlog. And then tomorrow I'm going to upload a kind of sit down Q&A that I filmed today, answering like 9 questions that I think kind of summarized all of the questions around going older. So stay tuned for that one. Please subscribe to my channel if that's what you're into. I obviously only release usually 1 video a week. This week we'll get 2. And sign up to my podcast, and I'll see you later. Bye.